We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend.
Present here in the chamber and those joining us online, staff, online audience, including the Speaker of the National Assembly who could not be here but who wishes both teams well. This morning, we saw the battle between the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group and Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space. That was the first debate in the semifinals, and this afternoon we will experience the second debate. The Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space took that victory home this morning. Our erudite judges this afternoon are Chief Judge Dr. Valerie Gursami-Smith. Dr. Smith has been an educator for over 42 years at all levels, primary, secondary, and the university levels, and she has been a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher for over 35 years, an English lecturer at the University of Guyana for over 20 years. Dr. Gursami-Smith is the director of the Berea Royal College International and has been in the pastoral ministry for over 21 years. She is a two-time winner of the University of Guyana's Interfaculty Debating Competition and is also the founder and coach of the course Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Our second judge, Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson, an alumni of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana in both history and law, University of the West Indies in international relations, the American University of Peace Studies, Psychology, and the Caribbean Leadership Program. She is a former multidisciplined national athlete in table tennis and basketball. I'd love to see her in action. Her sport credentials include Olympic certification in sports administration, World Anti-Doping Agency certified doping control officer, and Guyana's first and only level 2 female table tennis coach. With a professional background in journalism, education, international relations, business management, community development, and coaching, she serves as the Assistant Director of Sport at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. Our third judge is the Chief Administrative Officer of the Parliament Office. Her name is Mrs. Monet Garnett Christopher. She started her career at Queen's College as an economics teacher and then joined the Parliament Office as the Expenditure Planning and Management Analyst too. Mrs. Christopher is in possession of a Master of Business Administration degree and a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree in economics from the University of Guyana. She is no stranger to public speaking, to debates, and adjudicating same. She has served as an executive member of the Cacique Toastmasters Club. Our teams for this afternoon's debate in the semifinals, the proposing team is the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization. This organization aims to make a difference in society while serving as a voice for every youth. It seeks to inspire youths to live a positive lifestyle and rise above the ills of society. The group is led by Pandit Deodat Prasad and was formed in 2006. It operates on 3 pillars: knowledge, discipline, and service. The first speaker, Ms. Sharian Mangru, 27 years old from Vrymans Irvin, New Amsterdam, Berbice. Their second speaker, Mr. Karamchand Sugrim, 22 years old from West Reliance Settlement, East Kanji, Berbice. And their third speaker, Ms. Danwantri Prasad, 29 years old, from New Area Canefield Settlement, East Kanji, Berbice. The opposing team for this afternoon's debate is the Cast Talent Management Youth Group. The Cast Talent Management Youth Group brings together talented young people who are contributors to the arts and entertainment industry in Guyana. It is founded by Mr. Kamisi Slow, a long-standing contributor of the arts and a community leader. The organization scouts and markets and talents both locally and internationally. Cast Talent Management volunteers and hosts an annual seawall cleanup activity. Their first speaker is Mr. Osei. Is Miss Crystal Wills, 22 years old, from Westminster, West Bank, Demerara, and their third speaker, Mr. Jovan Sampson, 27 years old, from Hatfield Lodge, Georgetown. The moot for this afternoon's debate, quite an interesting one. International aggression must not be condoned. I declare this debate open, and I call on the first speaker of the proposing team, Ms. Sharian Mangru from Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. Sharian?
When the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. When the powerful forces go to war, it's their people who are hurt. Those who never asked for the conflict in the first place are caught and killed in the crossfire. Madam Chair, esteemed judges, members of the parliamentary staff, members of the opposition, colleagues of the proposition, good afternoon. I, Sharian Mangru, first speaker of the proposition, strongly support the moot. International aggression should not be condoned. Key terminologies are identified as international aggression and condone. Before defining international aggression, it must be noted that several attempts were made to find an acceptable definition amongst countries. In 1974, the General Assembly adopted a definition as use of armed force in international relations, not justified by defensive necessity, international authority, or consent of the state in which the force is used. The Cambridge Dictionary defines condone as to accept or allow behavior that is wrong. As the proposition, we do not support international aggression. Esteemed judges,
I wish to focus on the legal perspective in arguing against international aggression. Thomas Hobbes said, I quote, "Law is the primary instrument of a sovereign by which to serve the ends of government, which are principally peace and the personal security of all its citizens," end quote. Just as an ordinary citizen must respect the rule of law, countries must respect for international law. According to acting in contrary will result in chaos. International aggression is one of the most serious crimes that could be perpetrated. In 1946, the International Military Tribunal ruled that aggression was the supreme international crime because it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole. BBC noted that World War I took the lives of as many as 8.5 million soldiers and some 30 million civilians. This, members of the opposition, is the greatest crime against humanity, but didn't stop there. World War II was deadlier. In an effort to avoid these dreadful experiences, laws are repeatedly created. The mere fact that international aggression is considered a crime is an indication of the thinking that prevailed in crafting these laws. This effort is a clear indication that there is unified condemnation of international aggression. There are penalties towards leaders who engage in this form of crime. The planned sanctions towards Russia include disconnecting Russia's banks, cutting off state-owned broadcasters from satellite and the internet, and sanctioning Russia's businesses are just examples. Here is a reminder to the opposition. Do you know the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution for Russia to be suspended from the Human Rights Council? The resolution received a 2/3 majority vote. Do you know why this vote was taken? Russia breached the Rome Statute and it had to suffer the consequences. I call on you, the opposition, to do the same and condemn any form of international aggression. Perhaps you may want to say that a country has the right to act in self-interest, to defend its own sovereignty. We don't disagree here. However, in this era, there is no place for a military solution to a security problem, given the availability of national institutions for conflict resolution, including the United Nations and the International Court of Justice. A country nor its people must never be used as sacrificial lamb in justifying aggression. Non-violence, diplomacy, use of court are always preferred routes. Take a look at the Indian experience with Mahatma Gandhi, Ahimsa, non-violence movement. An entire empire was overthrown using peace strategies. Contrast this to Russia and Ukraine experience, where the current death toll toll continues to rise each day. War simply means more lives lost. Members of the opposition, I ask a question. Who exactly is safe within a country during a state of war? War is unfortunately a double-edged sword that cuts both sides. Mr. Clement Rohi, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Guyana, in an online post made on March 22, 2022, I quote, Guyana supports peaceful settlement of disputes, non-intervention in internal affairs, respect for human rights among states, end quote. Guyana not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. When faced with international threats by Venezuela relative to border dispute, instead of international aggression, in case you missed this, opposition members, Guyana filed its case with the International Court of Justice. When faced with similar issues with Suriname vis-a-vis the maritime boundary issue, the court was used again. Today, Suriname and Guyana are still good neighbors. No life was lost in the process of finding a solution. Madam Chair, Guyana stands tall and dignified and demonstrates international aggression is not an option. The consequences of international aggression is not confined to its belligerent states alone, but affect the whole world. Or as the famous Sri Lanka show puts it, no country is an island. Finally, honorable judges, my second speaker will elaborate on the economic costs of international aggression, and my third speaker will conclude by examining on the impact on humanity. I thank you.
Thank you, Sharian. I now call on the first speaker of the opposing team, the Cast Talent Management Youth Group, and that is Mr. Ose Clark. Ose?
Honorable judges, Madam Chair, members of the proposition, members of my team, everyone viewing this all, I greet you by saying, good afternoon. I, Osei Clark, stand before you here today as the first speaker of my team to present on today's moot. International aggression must not be condoned. As the first speaker of my team, it is my duty to present on a more historical and core aspect of this topic, whereas my teammates, namely Mr. Javon Sampson and Ms. Crystal Wills, will go into it on a more technical front. Now, key points to note, before we can explore this topic, we must firstly explore the main parts of it. Now, international simply means existing or carried on between nations, according to Oxford. Aggression, according to Cambridge, can be defined with one word: forcefulness. Someone becomes aggressive when they become forceful. And it can also be physical, verbal, and I will get into the rest later on. Condone means to be in agreement with or to forgive a specific action. Thus, today's moot, in other words, is simply saying forcefulness existing among nations to one's interest must not be forgiven or in agreement with. And to this, myself and my team disagree 110%. Now, as I mentioned earlier, aggression is not only physical. A lot of persons are tunnel visioning aggression to, okay, it's war, we're shooting, we're fighting. But if I'm being aggressive with someone, I don't necessarily have to hit them. All I have to do is become forceful. A bully step on my toe, I'm gonna say, please don't step on my toe again. He's gonna keep coming back. But a bully step on my toe and I'm forceful and say, hey, do not step on my toe. The odds of him coming back is very, very small. Now, when it comes to international aggression, it can be both political, it can be done with propaganda, it can be economic aggression, and it can also be social. All right? Now, in times past, in the days of Alexander the Great, Attila the Hun, Shaka Zulu, physical aggression was used a lot back then because there was not much room for diplomacy. However, let everything be brought to present day truth, where diplomacy rules the world. We have to be aggressive when it comes to certain things. For example, when the Guyana and Venezuela had their borderline dispute, we as Guyanese and the government as well come together, not a blade of grass movement. We were aggressive, but we were not necessarily violent. But like I said before, violence is not the only means of aggression. We went with our bullhorns, our cards, loud singing, marching, not a blade of grass. We ain't giving up no mountain. Yes, we were aggressive, but you know what? You know what? We were not violent. So you're saying we're not condoning Guyana being aggressive in this sense? Come on. Moving on, like I mentioned before, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to be aggressive. The entire world had to be aggressive in pushing certain things, making restrictions. You can't fly without vaccination. You have to wear your mask before you enter certain places. What is this? Aggression, because it was forceful. Now, had every country sit back and say, okay, do whatever you want, you're just going to get COVID, just do whatever you want. That would not have been aggressive, and we could not have been here today, live, doing this debate, because we would have still been restricted. So then we see again, aggression was used. When the United Nations were fighting against terrorism, they had to be aggressive in terms of propaganda, because by being aggressive in that way, by making persons aware, the information, ads and all that, persons were more aware, okay, this is always in our face. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. The UN didn't have to go to everyone's house with guns. Hello, terrorism is wrong. No, but by being propaganda, by spreading the propaganda that terrorism is wrong, okay? The UN, are we going to say the UN was wrong for doing that? No, they were aggressive, but they were just not necessarily violent. Now, before I wrap things up, I would just like to say this. By ignoring our history, this is like saying, okay, long ago we had to jog to get fit, but by jogging on the road, we can get into an accident. No, we use treadmills. It's much safer, and we're still getting fit. Now, by saying that we have to go to war all the time, with this, I like to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ose. I now call on the second speaker of the proposition, Mr. Karamchan Sugrim from the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. Karamchan.
Breaking news. ABC News reports crushing inflation to hit consumers amidst Russia versus Ukraine conflict. Madam Chair, distinguished judges, good afternoon all. In support of the moot, I will examine the economic impact of international aggression. Stop the War Coalition in 2022 noted that international aggression ultimately accumulates over time into global wars. Humanity succumbs to the economic consequences, and a perfect example is the current Russia versus Ukraine war. Tejavan Patinger of Oxford University noted that from some perspective, war can appear to be beneficial in terms of creating demands, employment, innovation, and profits for business, especially when the war occurs in other countries. However, when we talk about economic benefits of war, we must be aware of the broken window fallacy. When money is spent on war, this creates demand, and also it represents a huge opportunity cost. Rather than building bombs and rebuilding destroyed towns, this money could be used to improve the education and healthcare sectors. For example, the opportunity cost for Iraq war was estimated at $2 trillion by the end of 2022, according to New York Times. In terms of goodies, the International Monetary Fund highlighted that both Russia and Ukraine are major commodity suppliers of oil and wheat. Can you imagine what this means for Guyana? This war has resulted in global supply chain disruptions and inflations, and as a result, directly impacted Guyana. According to the global petrol prices, since the Ukraine versus Russia war began, gas prices have risen from $212 to $246 per liter. Members of the opposition, I know the soaring gas prices and the increased food costs will definitely convince you to appreciate our argument. An article published by Newsroom on March 11, 2022, Namilco increased the flour prices by 15%. Do you understand what this means for roti and bread? Madam Chair, according to the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, in 2019, China, France, India, Israel, North Korea, the UK, and the USA spent over $72.9 billion on nuclear weapons alone. Stocking up means that there is an intention at some time to use them. I urge you, members of the opposition, to take out your opposition cap and think for a moment. If this money was used for feeding the hungry, clothing the needy, and sheltering the vulnerable, wouldn't we have a better world? Leaders need to stop thinking of war as a means to defend their country's interests, but think of peace. It costs less. Erudite judges, war affects tourism negatively, and according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, flight bookings within Europe fell by 23% the week after the outbreak of the war. Countries close to the conflict zone have seen a 30 to 50% collapse in bookings. On a serious note, who want to visit Afghanistan or Syria after all that we read? Audience all, the ripple effects of international aggression must not be underestimated. Honorable judges, we must dare to find peaceful, legal, and diplomatic means to resolve conflicts. Countries who opt for international aggression do so under the guise of removing a government they seem anti-democratic. Such categorization is limited by one's own political indoctrination. Each country has their own perspective of what is right or wrong. However, what is obvious is that international aggression creates more economic burden on people rather than achieving any political good. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Karamchan. I now call on the second speaker of the opposing team, Mr. Juvan Sampson from Cast Talent Management Youth Group.
Ms. Carlita Charles, eminent judges, members of the proposition parliamentary staffs, viewers worldwide, good morning and blessings to all. I am Javon Sampson, and I was given the opportunity of being the second speaker of my team, with our moot being international aggression must not be condoned. I must keep you informed by redefining the word aggression. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the word aggression means forcefulness. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, the Oxford English Dictionary that is, the word international means something existing, reoccurring between nations or international organizations. Ms. Charles, many persons will think or believe that international aggression always means war, or that is the only way a country or nations can be aggressive through war. My team and I are here to prove them wrong, that international aggression doesn't always have to be war. You can be aggressive through diplomatic aggression, there's economic aggression. We can also be aggressive through giving out information. Ms. Charles, wasn't Guyana aggressive when we fought Venezuela for our territory in the International Court of Justice? We used non-violent aggression because we took it the diplomatic way and we fought them through law. We went there, we even took the streets, as the first speaker of my team would have said. We took the streets, we went out, gave non-violent aggressions because we're not giving up no mountains, no rivers, no trees. Ms. Charles, let's now turn our heads to the pandemic. We all were aggressive when nations joined forces in fighting the COVID-19 virus. Now, some persons, or as I should say, people would say that, oh, it's all about war. No, but during this pandemic, we fought with nonviolence. We took it through the medical field. Nations joined forces and fight the pandemic in order to bring this place to some sort of normalcy. I now move on, Ms. Charles, to say, what about HIV and AIDS? Nonviolence was used, or nonviolent aggression was used to fight tirelessly to find treatment and protection against that dreadful virus in order to save lives. Honorable judges, let's ponder upon climate change and pollution. Aggression was used to get information out there, to notify persons about the advantages, disadvantages, and also what we can do in order to stop climate change and pollution. Now, I'm saying that international aggression should and must be condoned. Now, before I conclude, I must also mention that international aggression was used when many countries or nations fought for their independence, like Guyana, who fought for theirs and would have won our independence on May 26, 1966. Apart from us, Barbados, our neighboring country, Barbados, our fellow Caribbean countries, I should more say, is also an independent nation, and they didn't have to use war. Everything does not depend on war when it comes to an international aggression. I can go on all afternoon about listing countries that fought for independence and no violence was used whatsoever. None. Everything was dealt with in a professional manner. And I hereby rest my case by saying it should and must be condoned. Thank you.
Thank you, Juvan. I call on the third speaker of the proposition, Ms. Danwantri Prasad from Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. Danwantri.
Arjuna in chapter 1, verse 31 of the Bhagavad Gita lamented on the devastating impacting of war, and I quote, "I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen, for war leads to destruction of family." In bringing closure to my team's argument with the 1996 hit record, "How Many More" by John King ringing in my ear, I will elucidate on the impact of international aggression on humanity. Members of the opposition, there can be no justification for war. There is no necessary war. An act of aggression by a country towards another further intensifies conflict and inflicts irreparable damages. I will dare you to tell us about a war that brought peace. Every time political oligarchs venture to aggravate, the most important subset in the equation is often missing. That is the human element. As such, when the aggressor attacks the aggressoree, obviously there is a response. Both sides will suffer using this course of action. Both sides will lose innocent lives. Both sides will be exposed to humanitarian crisis. How many more war can this earth bear? Crossroad International, in describing its painful observation in Syria, noted the little ones, the war will rob them of their childhood. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, put it best. What is at stake is the survival and well-being of a generation of innocents. BBC in 2018 reported that in Syria, 27 million children are missing school because of conflict of war, and as a result are being denied an education. While Red Cross International in 2018 documented that in Yemen, 22 million children are starving. I can't help to ask, how many more? Elbeldor, Benzel, and Bastide study in 1993 on the impact of war noted that children suffer from both acute and chronic traumatic stress and are characterized collateral damage. I dare ask, who gets to decide who should be a collateral damage? Why should political leaders adopt any aggression tactics that will doom and ruin its citizens? Each war robs a nation of its most important resource, the human resource. Madam Chair, let me inform that Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs estimated that at least 929,000 people have been killed by direct war violence in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, and Pakistan, while more than 387,000 civilians have been killed in the fighting since 2001 in the US. The current war between Russia and Ukraine, according to the Amnesty International in April 2022 noted, I quote, "The invasion has triggered a huge human rights, humanitarian, and displacement crisis that has the makings of the worst such catastrophe in recent European history," end of quote. On the 24th of March 2022, the World Health Organization said that there was over 64 attacks on health care facilities in Ukraine. Al Jazeera on the same day reported that the war caused Ukraine to repurpose hospitals to care for the wounded, thereby disrupting the provision of basic medical services to the civilians. How many more lives needs to be lost? Lord Opposition, is a new life being born into a war zone be the world we aspire to build? My team reiterates that there are many options available to countries for conflict resolution, which does not involve the use of international aggression. Madam Chair, distinguished judges, I close our arguments with words from Isaiah 2.4. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Danwantri. And that closes the first set of arguments on the moot for today. Oh. My apologies. I didn't want to hear Crystal. I call on the third speaker of the opposition, Ms. Crystal Wills from Cast Talent Management Youth Group. Crystal, you have the floor.
According to the realists, the logics of peaceful change may bring peace, but this peace is always conditioned by power. A pleasant good afternoon to you, Madam Chairperson, distinguished judges, members of the proposition, parliamentary staff, and to our audience who are watching virtually. Welcome. My name is Crystal Wills, and I am the final speaker of our group, Cast Talent Management. The move for today's debate argues that international aggression must not be condoned. My group is here to state reasons why we believe that international aggression can be a way to bring peace without war and conflict, and in fact, should be condoned. As a reminder, according to the Oxford Dictionary, condoned is defined as accept, which means to condone something is to accept it. To begin with, monitoring programs are formulated to provide the knowledge needed to tackle the issues that eventually leads to violent conflict. General indicators can be economic, social, legal, or environmental, all monitored by organizations, international organizations, and governments in most areas of the world. With that being said, an international aggressive intervention is needed to avoid the potential escalation of a dispute to violent conflict. Furthermore, a way in which international aggression was used to better the economy was in the summer of 1945, when the U.S. economy was poised on the edge of an uncertain future. Senator James of New York City even argued that the United States would find itself largely unprepared to overcome unemployment on a large scale. At this point, distinguished judges, the U.S. had a rise in unemployment rate and economic shock. However, after an aggressive intervention in 1960, the U.S. stopped $500 billion, firmly establishing itself as the richest and most powerful nation in the world. This clearly shows that international aggression was used for the greater good to improve the U.S. economy, and we believe that such acts of international aggression should be condoned. I might also add that in 1992, Guyana transitioned from authoritarian politics to democratic politics with the help of the USA. Madam Moderator, this legal, political, and not forgetting peaceful intervention by the USA would not have been possible if it wasn't for international aggression. The US were aggressive with their ways and means to help Guyana become a democratic country, and therefore, once again, international aggression should be condoned. It is evident that the members of the proposition think that international aggression is entirely wrong, but we, the members of the opposition, believes we see the need for this aggression in order to avoid conflict and war. My final thought, Madam Moderator, distinguished judges, members of the proposition, and online viewers, is that whether the main goal was to stabilize the government or to simply prevent the foreseeable consequences of genocide and other catastrophes that leads to economic collapse, international aggression, once again, should be condoned. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. And now that we've heard initial arguments from all 6 of our debaters, we will take a 5-minute break to allow for the debaters to prepare their rebuttals. And the judges will, in this time, conduct their first tallying. I ask our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, to remind us of the rules of the competition. Yannick, over to you.
The rules of the competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member shall be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposition, followed by the first speaker of the opposition, and shall alternate in this order. The time allotted for each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 5 minutes. Second speaker, 4 minutes. Third speaker, 4 minutes. And for the rebuttal, 5 minutes. The rebuttal will be done by the first speaker on each team, in the order of opposing, then proposing. No new arguments or material shall be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be rung first to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there will be a final bell when the time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, attitude to opponent, development of argument, and cohesion. And finally, the judges' decisions are final. Those are your rules for this year's Speakers National Youth Debating Competition.
Thank you, Yannick. Those were the rules of the debating competition. And just to remind our viewers of the judges for today, our chief judge is Dr. Valerie Gurusamy-Smith, who has been an educator for more than 42 years at the primary, secondary, and university levels, and a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher for more than 35 years, and an English lecturer at the University of Guyana for over 20 years. Dr. Gurusamy-Smith is the director of the Berea Royal College International, has been in the pastoral ministry for over 21 years, and is founder and coach of the course Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Our second judge, Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson, has many accolades. She is a former student of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana History and Law, University of the West Indies International Relations, the American University of Peace Studies Psychology, and she is a famous athlete. She serves now as the Assistant Director of Sport at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. Our third judge, Mrs. Monette Garnett Christopher, is the Chief Administrative Officer here at the Parliament Office. She began her career at Queen's College as an economics teacher and then joined the Parliament Office as Expenditure Planning and Management Analyst too. She has adjudicated many of these debates, and she herself is a victorious winner of many. Mrs. Garnett Christopher has a Master of Business Administration degree and a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree in Economics from the University of Guyana. Timekeeper. To remind you of our teams in this debate in the semifinals, the proposing team is the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization, and the opposing team is the Cast Talent Management Youth Group. The debate is hot, 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 and we are eagerly awaiting the rebuttals. And so 5 minutes has elapsed, and now we call on the first speaker of the opposing team, the Cast Talent Management Youth Group, and that is Mr. Ose Clark for his rebuttal. Ose?
Honorable judges, Madam Chair, members of the proposition, members of my team, all, I greet you again by saying good afternoon. I'm here to present my rebuttal on today's moot. International aggression must not be condoned. Now, for the proposing team, their first speaker made a lot of mention about war and stuff like that. Now, need I not show you again? Myself and my team clearly stated that war, or the physical aspect of international aggression, is not the only way of international aggression. Now, they always come up against war. War is wrong, everyone is suffering from war, but war is not the only way. Now, if more countries were more so aggressive, in their diplomacy, there would be no war. Now, a next thing that she mentioned was about the United Nations coming up and giving information about certain war crimes and stuff happening. I clearly stated in my opening argument that the United Nations is informative with their aggression by showing you this is what's going on, this is right, and this is wrong. I clearly stated that. Also, Mr. Jovan Sampson made mention to it in his presentation as well. Now, she also claimed that any form of international aggression should be condemned. Now, what you're basically saying here is by Guyana being aggressive, in fighting for our rights, Venezuela belongs to us, not a blade of grass. You want to condemn Guyana for being aggressive in that aspect? Come on. Now, she also claimed about nonviolence, but diplomacy, right? We are all saying that throughout our presentation. We are being aggressive with our diplomacy because you know why? We want something, it has to happen now. In order for it to happen now, we have to be forceful. We have to take it to the international court. No, that is being aggressive because that is being forceful. Now, their second speaker, he claimed that every country that involved in international aggression, they succumb to it. Why is Guyana still here then? Right? Because we are aggressive, like I stated before, in the Venezuela border dispute. We were aggressive in that aspect. Guyana hasn't succumbed. Neither did Venezuela. But what? Right now, they're even calling Guyana a second home to Venezuelan citizens because we were aggressive to that point. We pushed for it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. And it was halted. Now, what I noticed about the preposition, they were using a more tunnel vision type of standpoint. It's like they just had their hand like this and looking straight at war. Now, I would like for you to just remove that scope and see diplomacy is there. Economic aggression is there. All that form of international aggression is right there. Just remove that tunnel vision. Get your mind off of war. They talked a lot about Russia and Ukraine and Iran and all that. But the only way they could have known about that is because the information is all over. And the information is all over because of informative aggression. Everywhere you look, Ukraine, Russia, Iran, because they're being informative. It's aggressive, it's always there. For example, if I'm being aggressive with my approach to a young woman, every time I see her, I'll talk to her. Hi, you okay? Every time she see me, she know I'm coming with one thing. Hi, are you okay? Can we go out? Because I'm being aggressive to that point. Because I'm aggressive to my approach doesn't mean I'm going to hold her hand. Come, let me go out. Come, let me go. No. I'm being aggressive with diplomacy. I'm coming to her, shaking her hand every time. Are you having a good afternoon? Thus, everyone is being aggressive to that way as well. Their third speaker basically was saying everything all of them was saying, war, war, war. But I urge you to just remove that tunnel vision. Get it out of your mindset. There is other means of aggression that has and always being used. War is right now at a minority. If you count all the countries that fought for their independence, they beat Russia and Ukraine by far because there are only just two countries engaged in war. And by this tipping of the scale, I say again, international aggression should be condoned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ose. And I now call on Ms. Sharian Mangru for her rebuttal from the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. Sharian?
Madam Chair, honorable judges, on this occasion, I rise for the second time to dissect my opponent's argument that international aggression should be condoned. What saddens me is the fact that we live in a world where such arguments can still be made despite all the great developments and movements that this world has seen. We have been treated this afternoon with, unfortunately, with an opposition who have presented us nothing more but an inaccurate and misguided notion. I dare to say that we are not and can never be convinced that international aggression should be condoned. Honorable Speaker, the first speaker definition is the sole issue with his presentation, in my opinion. Let me take the opportunity to remind the first speaker of our definition of international aggression. The General Assembly adopted a definition as use of armed force in international relations not justified by defensive necessity, international authority, or consent of the state in which force is used. The first speaker went on to state, which I find funny, he spoke on the border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana, but need I remind you, as myself, the first speaker would have said to you, Guyana did not choose aggression, and let us not have a mix-up of what is passion, Guyana's passion towards protecting what is our own, not a blade of grass where we're willing to give up. So let us not confuse passion to protect what is ours against aggression. The second speaker, wow, I thank you. I would like to thank you as you boldly stood here today and said that the reputable Cambridge Dictionary defined aggression as forcefulness. Honorable judges, how contradictory that the first speaker entire argument. It is in support of us. I would like to now take the opportunity to further thank the second speaker in agreeing with us that international aggression should not be condoned. He spoke of Guyana and Venezuela taking their dispute to the International Court of Justice. Exactly our point. There are other strategies when dealing with conflict with international countries apart from taking the route of aggression. Yes, we agree 100%. In case you missed the memo, we are speaking that there are other options. Again, I reiterate, there are other options because aggression, whether we choose to highlight it or not, aggression leads to war. When we go to war, we are hurting the people of the nation. Madam Chair, I fail to comprehend the points that the second speaker started to speak on COVID-19, the pandemic, and HIV and AIDS. So this, I will not make much comments on. The third speaker said, and I quote, aggression does not lead to war, since she thinks it is necessary. But as pointed out by my second speaker, it does lead to war. Aggression does lead to war. Case in point, the Russia and Ukraine dispute, because the military aggression is what led to war in the first place. It also seems that we have a definition issue, as aggressive approach is policy is being taken different contexts by the opposition. But what we need to understand is the context in which aggression is being used in this debate this afternoon. Citing the USA intervention again is another demonstration of use of peace tactics and not international aggression. Again, we thank the opposition for blatantly agreeing with us. So I ask, if for any reason you might want to say choosing a civilized, non-violent, diplomatic, or peace strategy cannot work, I wish to remind you once more that our beautiful nation stands tall as an ideal model that these strategies can work. The mere fact that international aggression is considered a crime is an indication of the thinking and unified condemnation of international aggression. We, the proposition, have established that international aggression is illegal. You simply cannot say that there is a law on the use of illegal substances, yet you possess and you want to use such substance. So when you're caught and charged for such actions, you suddenly plead as if you're innocent. This is not how society works. At least this is not what is cited by Thomas Hobbes. So we cannot go against the fact that international aggression is illegal and stand here to defend it. Opposition members, I beseech you, do you yourself stand proudly in support of the arguments you have presented here today? Dare I ask, who gets to decide this collateral damage of international aggression? Is it the leaders who will make claims of protecting the nation? Protecting the nation at what cost, I ask you? Is the path of international aggression worth the consequences of sacrificing our human resources, without which we would have no world to turn to? Honorable judges, my team have presented you with an abundance of reasoning why international aggression must not be condoned. While my Lord opposition may want to argue that the leader is justified, it is not at the expense and the means of his country. So I ask you, at what cost? I thank you.
Thank you, Sherry-Ann. And there we had it, final arguments on the moot. International aggression must not be condoned. And we will allow our judges to do their tallying in order to announce the winners of this afternoon's competition as well as the best debaters. We are in the semifinals of the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, and in this round, there are two best debaters for the debate. This morning's debate saw two best debaters, and the same will occur this afternoon. I invite again our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, to just tell us a little bit about the competition. Yannick?
Hello everyone, I'm Yannick December, Public Relations Officer here in the Parliament Office. I'm also a member of the Planning Committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, a competition which serves as a feeder into the annual Youth Parliament. Youth Parliament was first hosted in 2015 under the speakership of the Honourable Raphael Trotman. At present, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Mansour Nadir, thought it best to widen participation to allow more youths to become knowledgeable of the institution of Parliament. 16 youth groups from across our educational districts are participating in this competition. 8 of those groups will advance to participate in this year's Youth Parliament. What's in it for you, you may ask? Trophies, plaques, cash prizes, tablets, and a laptop for the best debater in the final debate. The final debate will be held at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2022. Like last year, we are pleased to have you tune into this competition and promise that you will experience robust debates from our participants.
Thank you, Yannick. I'm looking to our judges and I see they need some more time. So let me remind you that we're in the semifinals. The finals of the competition will be held next Tuesday, that's the 31st of May 2022, and that would be at the Arthur Chong Conference Center. It will be live streamed as well, and that competition, unlike the other rounds which were hybrid, will be fully physical, so both teams in the finals will be able to physically face off at the Arthur Chong Conference Center. And the moot for the finals is the Natural Resource Fund will ensure intergenerational equity. I go that again. The Natural Resource Fund will ensure intergenerational equity. That should be very, very interesting. To remind you, 16 teams entered this competition. The first round saw 8 teams emerging and 8 best debaters. And those teams are CAST Talent Management, West Bank Young Achievers, Grove Diamond Youths in Development, Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space, Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization, Young Professionals Youth Group, Bartica Youth Group, Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. And of course, all 8 of those debates saw 8 best debaters. And to recognize them, I will call their names: Karam Chan Sugrim, Dimple Basdeo, Crystal Wills, Carlita Williams, Nkosi Jupiter, Bibi Wazida Yassin, Latoya Bechun, and Malika Russell. The second round was the quarterfinals round, and that saw 4 best debaters as well as 4 winning teams. Those teams are CAST Talent Management, Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space, Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization, Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. And the best debaters in the quarterfinals were Crystal Wills again, Tamara Reddy, Sherry-Ann Mangru, and Gavin Thomas. The semifinals commenced this morning, and the winning team was the Angois Avenue Youth Group. I'm looking to my staff for the best debaters from this morning. The best debaters from our semifinals first debate were Miss Latoya Bechun and Miss Malika Russell. They have been doing well, and all of our debaters have been doing well. We congratulate all our best debaters as well as all the teams which participated. It takes confidence to stand and to speak publicly, And we thank you also for entering the competition. The judges can't seem to make a decision maybe on the best speakers. And so to remind you, the speakers competition will venture into our administrative regions. This year, there are 9 regions participating. We hope to have participation from all 10 of our administrative regions next year. For every region, there will be regional debates. We will invite youth groups from the regions, and they will have their competition. And the victors of those regional competitions will advance to the National Speakers Youth Debating Competition. Judges? They are deliberating. And so at this time, I highlight some of our staff of the Planning Committee of the Parliament Office. And I will just ask Mr. Alonso CPO, our technical guy, to have the camera show our hardworking staff here at the Parliament Office. And I commence with Ms. Christina Ramroop. She is responsible for having all your programs done and assisting me with coordination. Next to Christina is Ms. Juliana Chatterpaul. So Alonso will take the camera back to Christina so she can wave. Yes, there she is. Ms. Juliana Chatterpaul, who is responsible for all the prizes that you will receive at the prize giving ceremony, which will be immediately following the finals next Tuesday, 31st of May, at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. Next to her is Ms. Sarita Bethune, who is also helping to coordinate and assisting with preparations for the finals. Behind them is Safraz Mohammed first. Safraz is your timekeeper. He is also the person responsible for having all our participants attend the prize-giving ceremony and the finals physically, your accommodation, transportation, meals. He will be there taking care of all our debaters. Next to Safraz is Ms. Candace Kirtan, and she has been in communication with all the debaters, ensuring that their information is correct and that all goes well with them. And those functions are shared by Ms. Koala Robertson, next to Candy. And I want to express my appreciation to the hardworking team. Of course, I am Ms. Carlita Charles, coordinator of the Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. And I see my judges are deliberating again. I wish to congratulate again all the teams who have been bold enough to participate, and I convey this congratulations on behalf of Honorable Speaker Manzoor Nadir as well, Speaker of the National Assembly. I am sure he will convey these words of appreciation to you, to the judges, to the teams, the staff, and everyone when the competition culminates on the 31st of May at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. Chief Judge, are we ready? No, we're not ready. I'll go back to our video of our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, to remind our online viewers what the competition is all about. Yannick?
Hello everyone, I'm Yannick December, Public Relations Officer here in the Parliament Office. I'm also a member of the Planning Committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, a competition which serves as a feeder into the annual Youth Parliament. Youth Parliament was first hosted in 2015 under the speakership of the Honorable Raphael Trotman. At present, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Manzoor Nadir, thought it best to widen participation to allow more youths to become knowledgeable of the institution of Parliament. 16 youth groups from across our educational districts are participating in this competition. 8 of those groups will advance to participate in this year's Youth Parliament. What's in it for you, you may ask? Trophies, plaques, cash prizes, tablets, and a laptop for the best debater in the final debate. The final debate will be held at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2022. Like last year, we are pleased to have you tune into this competition and promise that you will experience robust debates from our participants.
Difficulty in actually coming with my scores for both sides. However, I noted the fact that the impact on economic activities was alluded to, but I was looking to hear more about the social impact on the lives of individuals and so on of international aggression. So I'm still awaiting to hear more as to why international aggression must not be condoned. I like the fact that a little twist was brought to international aggression in a positive manner and to using it in such a positive way. However, I think there were a lot of evidence, a lot of research was done in order to support your points. I noted the fact too that there was a lot of improvement in terms of your delivery and in terms of your pace. However, so far, I think it's a good session this afternoon, and may the best team move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Garnet Christopher. I move to Judge Dow Richardson for her comments.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good afternoon to you, to the debating teams, to fellow judges, the Parliament staff, and of course to everyone tuned in online. This moot is a very, very contentious, controversial moot, and I commend the 6 young people who sat and did the research and made their presentations on this. We are in a state of global unrest, so it's very specific to what's happening in our world right now. But that term aggression is a very clear term. In international relations, there are many concepts. And international aggression is a concept in itself. You have international peacekeeping, the focus of diplomacy. Those terminologies, I believe if they were explored a little more, we would have had a healthier debate on both sides. The focus on, you see, aggression becomes hostility, but diplomacy keeps us in the realm of good governance and good practice and good relations with each other. If we veer too far into aggression, even if it is to have a positive impact, it will not, because conceptually, aggression has its end. And diplomacy emerged many, many years ago. International relations didn't start with the UN, it didn't start with post-slavery activity. It goes all the way back to the Egyptian civilizations, international cooperation and trade and those things. These are not new concepts. But when aggression in and of itself takes us into a realm of hostility, and diplomacy keeps us out of that hostility that can lead to non-violent contact, to violent contact, to war. Right, so I empathize with our young minds in their assessment of the debate mood, and I commend you for your analysis. But please continue to do more research in this area, because international relations is very broad, it's very wide, and every country that's a member of the United Nations has their own perspective. But as members of the United Nations, we have one goal. And the main goal of the United Nations is international peacekeeping. It was formed to stop war from happening. So we had the Cold War, where there was no violence. But I digress in going further on this topic. It's a delicate area. Like I said, I empathize with your debates. It's very, very interesting. More analysis of concepts, and just remember that aggression leads to hostility. Diplomacy keeps us out of the realm of violence and armed conflict. 2 more points to share with you. Rushing, we lose some of your ideas. We lose some of your analysis. Pace yourself, slow down a little, drop it from 8 points to 6 points, and stay within your timelines. Right? Please do not rush. Otherwise, great job. Good luck to whoever wins this afternoon in the finals, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Judge Dow Richardson. And now for comments and announcements of winners from our Chief Judge, I call on Dr. Valerie Gurusamy Smith.
Good afternoon to everyone. In Parliament, out of Parliament, all protocols observed otherwise. It has been quite an afternoon with our two debating teams debating on a topic like both of the other two judges have said. The topic is broad, the topic is diverse, and interpretation becomes important. When you're debating, you have to narrow down your discussion, come up with a thesis statement that you're going to deliberate on. I believe both teams did well from the definition of the mood and the definition of the terminologies that you debated along the line that you set out to debate on. And that helped both teams to be awarded scores. One team dealt with, even as Ms. Dow Richardson is giving us quite an in-depth understanding of aggression and the meaning of aggression. In my mind, I was thinking that forcefulness, there is something that I came up in my mind about. There's something called sophisticated aggression, where their aggression in so many respects. But I have to respect the term if it's a legal jargon within the framework of international relations, then I have to accept that. But the opposition chose a definition and you went along that line. Some of the speakers were narrow in terms of, I felt one group could have diverted a little bit to show a little bit more expansion of the term international aggression. However, both teams tried. Y'all came very close, very close. We had some discussions that could have taken us into more analysis to draw a conclusion. However, due to time, and I believe that's the thing that both teams faced, within a time frame, you did deliver. Within a time frame, you did deliver. I observed more debating techniques put into place. I believe you're coming to a place where you're coming to the finals and we are seeing that kind of characteristics of debating surfacing. And I am happy with the fact that both teams found the line of argument. So this afternoon we had a task also of choosing best speakers from both teams. From the proposition, our best speaker has been decided upon, and she's no other than the first speaker of the team, Ms. Sherry-Ann. Give it up for Ms. Sherry-Ann, best speaker from the proposition. And the best speaker from the opposition is no other than Crystal Wills. Excellent job, both teams. This is not a time to give up. You always keep trying. So I believe both teams did well and are congratulated. I want to announce the winner, which we have to come up with a winner. So the winner for the semifinals for today's debate is no other than one team has 89.6. Well, the other team has 88.4, so you can see it came very close. I'm about to announce the top score goes to no other than the proposition. Come on, let's give. So the winner for today is the Angois Avenue, New Amsterdam area, an area I'm familiar with. Golden Ohm Dharmic. So thank you so much, Madam Deputizing Speaker.
Thank you, Chief Judge. I join in congratulating our best debaters, Sherry-Ann Mangru and Crystal Wills. Job well done. And to congratulate the winning team, the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization. To remind you, the finals of the competition will be held next Tuesday, the 31st of May, at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. Thank you to our judges, teams, staff, and online viewers. I am Carlita Charles saying goodbye for now.